What do I most often tell my clients to do specifically?
Don't you want to look good naked?
I think that all of my clients are probably sick of me saying to go into every day with some sort of plan, whether that's from a nutrition perspective, a training perspective, but just having an idea of what you're gonna do and having some sort of plan. The more specific you can get with that plan, the easier it's probably gonna be just from a stress perspective, because we know that things come up during the day, especially during the week, whether you have kids, whether you're, things come up at work. And so if you have specifics within your nutrition, your training, if those things are set, then you don't have to worry about them, right? You can worry about all the other stuff that comes up with life. So I think that's one thing that I always say whenever, I'm checking in with clients or we're talking about things. It's always like, did you have a plan going into the day? Did you know, for example, if you had a protein goal to hit, did you know how you were going to hit that goal? Did you at least have a rough idea of where you were going to get that protein from? If you, if you were needed to hit 4 training sessions this week, do you have those training sessions set on your calendar and set on your calendar like they would be a meeting with the President of the United States? Something that can't be moved unless there is a complete war, I don't know. Something like that, right? Look at it as a very, very important meeting with yourself that you don't move unless something comes up that's, obviously an emergency or something more important. That I think is important because with training, sometimes, especially if you're a mom and you got kids and you are like kind of dealing with all of that in everyday life, and you are constantly being pulled in all these different directions, if you let that take over the things that you want to accomplish from a nutrition and a training standpoint, then you're just going to continue to spin your wheels and be frustrated. But if you get a little selfish, if you have these set times like within your schedule that are for you, that are your time, even if it's not related to nutrition or training, even if it's just a stress management thing, even if it's like, okay, at 8:00 every night, I'm taking a bubble bath, leave me alone, because that helps you de-stress. Those are things that are important because, again, if you aren't doing these things for yourself first and you're not filling up your cup, how are you supposed to bring your best self to everybody else around you? You're gonna burn out eventually. Planning ahead is the number one thing with anything. Like, it doesn't have to be just nutrition training, but planning for stress management time, planning, sleep. Sleep is important, but just having some plan going into the day. Something else would be not getting caught up on the day-to-day metrics and data. So with my clients, we track a lot of data because we want to get that objective metric, right? We track scale weight, we track body tape measurements, we look at pictures, we look at daily calories and macros and biofeedback. So how you slept the night before, what your hunger levels are like, how many cravings you had that day, what your recovery was like, how your performance was in the gym, tracking all these things in a way that, it sounds complex, but it's really just a scale of 1 to 5. Like for recovery, did you feel recovered going into your training session? No, 1, yes, 5, very easy. But these are things that we tend to forget about, at the end of the week, especially if you are, doing weekly check-ins or monthly check-ins or whatever it may be. At the end of the week, even for myself, if I thought back, how did I sleep on Wednesday or how did I train that day? And I have no objective metric to track that. I have no idea, literally no idea. So having these metrics that you're tracking kind of on a daily basis is important. However, if you get really caught up in those daily metrics, specifically when it comes to that scale weight or even the body tape measurements or even not hitting your macros on the dot every single day, those are the things that tend to be not as important. So yes, we want to track the data so that we can get those trends over time and that we can kind of look back and remind ourselves of, how we felt or what we did. But getting caught up on the daily fluctuations for a lot of these things is something that it's just adding more stretch to the situation. So that's where just focusing on the trends, focusing on the consistency over time, focusing on not being perfect, right? I say this all the time. I guess this is something that I say all the time is consistency over perfection. Nobody is perfect. So if you can be consistent with what you're doing and have a metric for tracking some of that stuff, you're really most of the way there, right? So consistency over perfection, having a plan going into the day, setting times on your calendar for you, whether that's for your own nutrition planning or prepping your food, whether that's for training, whether that's for just decompressing, stress management, things like that. I don't like to say like trust the process. I just feel like that is, I don't know, it's overused. And instead of trusting the process, I'd rather you embrace the process and understand that it is a process and it takes time and it takes putting in the work and the effort to get to the goals that you have. So yes, you should trust your coach. You should trust the changes that maybe I suggest for you, but ask questions, right? Maybe don't trust it. Maybe be curious, right? Find out, like, again, why are you doing what you're doing? Why am I making suggestions for you? If you can trust it, right? But also, if you don't understand it, then how is that beneficial to you over the long term? Embrace the process, ask questions, and put in the work. Women, we believe